My father was the worst photographer in the world. He tried to crop this headshot of my mother with a gun aimed at her face. He spoke the love of my mother through the barrel of a cannon. Funny thing is, guns and cameras are too much alike. No, seriously, these guns and cameras are too much alike. You point, aim, shoot, they both fire. One keeps memories, the other takes them away. Let me ask you, what has more bang, a 9mm or a 35? It all depends on the subject as the point of target. Cops may be trained to use guns. They're quick to point and shoot people at a camera. They're quick to point and be focused. Notice, they both have the same ability to keep you framed. One behind glass, the other under wood. Interesting. Coffins and picture frames have glass and mostly wood. At the age 5, I never understood why my father thought a gun should be used as a camera. Every time there's someone saying cheese, all I do is freeze, camera, lights, flash, fast forward, 17. All I have to do is take this self-portrait, add a 9mm to my temple. I tried to undevelop myself outside the dark room of mother's womb, non-existence. I thought I could stop this domestic violence, my absence camera. As you can see, I survived. Lights, like the Polaroid being exposed to light. I'm still developing. Flash, 27, had desire on taking the role of being a model. Funny thing is, I do not own a camera or a gun. The closest thing to a weapon I own is a cell phone. I flirt with suicide every time I take a selfie. What type of role model am I? Photographer has a camera, I got another. Tell me, have you ever been on a photo shootout? Photographer says cheese, all I do is freeze. Flashing lights, give me flashback. I guess PTSD of my father putting his hands on my mother. I had no camera, so I grabbed my toy gun. My toy gun had no bang. Why? Then my gun had no effect. I guess at the age 5, Photoshop was not invented yet. Guns and cameras are too much alike. They both keep you frozen in animation. One on page, the other on pavement. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Tell me, but the Polaroid saving is undeveloped. It's hard to talk when the shutter spinning your throat stuck on high. Most kids grew up being afraid of the dark. I grew up being afraid of the light, despite the fact it was a smile. Every time my father says cheese, all I do is freeze. Not knowing if I'm posing for a family portrait or my own obituary. Get over the DJ. How y'all doing? Y'all still here? Y'all enjoying yourselves? So, I broke the ice. Now I'm about to get the open mic started with the first poet or poetess of the evening. Put your hands together for Professor Righteous! Keep your hands clapping together on the mic.
How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Good to be here. I wrote a couple of things this past week. Just resembling on just letting this voice be of importance. And how many poems can I do, by the way? Two? Okay. I wrote this, I can't remember the top of my head. I like to remember, but artist told me don't worry about it. You can read off the book, do it.
So this is fundamental.
This first thing I'm gonna do is called May I Speak, about the importance of having a voice. Let me remind my fellow voices of brave. You'll be chastised due to having your own views that requires nothing more than your own experience that actually will be hope to those trying to cope with obstacles that's blocking their vision while heading towards their mission, just needing someone to listen. There was these niggas with attitude that got constantly put down by self-righteous critics, calling their expressions demonic, but they still made an impact, which influenced more speaking of the harsh that they had to live amongst. So I must keep speaking what's in the soul I call own, even if I say I present as artistry don't make top 40. So many of my peers didn't make it to 14. That's why I thank the late great woman who birthed me for advising I stay free-spirited and don't let nothing block the walk involving vision. So many years later is when I decided that creativity involving my POV that's so stuck in thee be not just identity, but a spirit that be of authenticity with their society whose aspect of those like me is non-unique. So from this exhaling, prominent words is what's leaked, making the drips keep the lips moist. So my voicing is clear that in hope will give progress, like barbells did to LL Physique. I'm making a demand that thy words of artistry be top priority, like what Martin did standing on Capitol grounds reciting that speech. That's with impurity, so I vocabularize without lust. I try not to cuss. If I do, vulgarity is just the strengthening of my point, that's all, so don't fuss. But clear the dust that's clogging your drums to give a listen to those of us that put dominance in our harmony. Even if the critics want to bring the heat like August, by having gratitude with attitude, a little altitude that be rigorous, I will make sure this display of wordplay that I let loose on any given day be a categorical must. This next piece is called "This Poem Is Not for Coloreds Only." Please pardon how I act, that may or may not be so-called black. My complexion is actually lighter than that. Hopefully those with different complexion got identified with views that's expressed by me. If not, oh well, just gotta be lonely, cause this poem is not for coloreds only. Up to this day I'm trying to figure, what's with the insanity by 5-hole that's so happy with that trigger? They constantly pulling while aiming at who they see as not a valuable nigger. Front page news, middle page news, back page news is full of blues. Almost every genre besides the blues is singing the blues. But there's a genre that got started within the poverty that was filled with affliction, which took 4 elements involving releasing energy that became the tool that gave maintenance to culture. But I'm wondering how much pain I must give dues before I walk as a representative of shine I gave to my shoe. But I'm not gonna play the race card, cause I be far from racist. Right now, we ain't winning the races. When I say we, I mean the we, that's a complexion of me. But don't worry, this poem is not for colors only. Spirituality is nothing new to the dark complexion. Yes, we had to be civilized while demanding rights, but having a more radical demand also had to take place. Ain't but so much accepting of holes being sprayed to that of color only. Nevertheless, we still found that place where harmony is sung. We're giving praise to the Savior who has a complexion like mine is our cry. Not always in sadness, but in the gratitude that we still be of faith, which strengthens heart, that speaks soul. That's just our nature. Sit in the house of worship has now again become dangerous grounds due to that wicked individual deciding to show his resentments against those of color by being no other than just another depraved kid, but by the action of he was told to forgive, even if he's on his way to a hell of fire. But how after being senselessly murdered, Trayvon Martin still got chastised for his dress attire? Being that how I present my fashion is how I'll be judged. I'm buying a tuxedo so I won't end up in a lawsuit. No, we don't need to rig NAACP, month of colored only history, although it's gotten less colored BET. How has it become sin having extra dedication involving the accomplishing by those of skin that has chocolate flavor? Have you heard a non-colored man is about to portray the greatest entertainer who always saw through the mirror a man of beauty but had no control of his complexion decreasing but still able to chorus? Don't matter if you're black or white, true indeed, but black lives still do matter. Hope I don't get charged with a hate crime involving my penmanship while I continue using black ink attacking these white sheets. Here comes the bus. I'm about to hop on heading to my destination. After paying fare, I see an empty front seat. That's where I decided to sit. Let me confess, I did that to rub it in the mostly non-black passengers sitting behind me. You know what? Ain't no guilt in me. Like that dirty fountain I refuse to drink out of. Like that part of the restaurant I refuse to sit to order a recipe. Like that community that falsely invigorates souls to poverty. Like that stereotype I refuse to give a Best Buy, even if it's Sony. Like that part of the bus a courageous Montgomery tax-paying individual refused to go to. I'm sure it wasn't because she didn't want to be lonely. This poem that I don't need to make enigmatic or trying to be fanatic by causing static is not just for coloreds only. The Righteous 957 at gmail.com.